I'm not a lawyer or a New Yorker, but I read the 57-page indictment of Eric Adams because apparently I have nothing better to do. So if you've been trying to figure out why this sitting mayor has just been indicted, let me break it down for you. So this is the current sitting mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. And before becoming mayor, Eric Adams was the Brooklyn borough president. And even if you're not from New York, you more than likely know that New York has 5 boroughs. And New Yorkers won't let you forget which one they are from. A borough president basically advocates the needs of that borough to the city mayor. So Eric Adams was the Brooklyn borough president from 2014 until 2021. And the indictment says about 1 year after he was elected as Brooklyn borough president, the tea started. A little bit of context before we jump into this. In general, elected officials in the United States are not allowed to accept gifts from citizens of other countries, particularly government officials from other countries. And the reason for that is it's assumed that those foreign officials are gifting these U.S. officials to gain some kind of favor with them. Maybe get that official to provide them some information that they probably shouldn't have, or just generally get them to do things that may be in the best interest of that foreign country and not in the best interest of the United States. And it's also believed that sometimes these foreign officials will begin trying to give these gifts to people who they believe may eventually become in positions of huge power in the US, like president. So if they feel like you could eventually become president, they may start trying to develop that relationship early on in hopes that later on it could pay off in a big way. So the docs allege that in 2015, when Eric Adams was Brooklyn borough president, he took 2 official trips to Turkey, and he reported those, disclosed those, did what he was supposed to do. And while he was there, he's introduced and connected to a Turkish official, a promoter, some business folks, and he was eventually introduced to the general manager for Turkish Airlines. But after those first 2 trips, the docs allege that Eric Adams and his staff used those introductions and connections to basically ask for free or heavily discounted flights. And we're talking about business class tickets, not coach. The docs give one example of an October 2016 trip when Eric Adams and his partner took a trip to India. Adams' partner purchased 2 economy class tickets to India, and then 2 days before the flight, those economy class tickets were upgraded to business class at no additional cost. And then there's another example in the docs from July and August of 2017 when Eric Adams, a relative of his, and some of his staffers traveled to France, Turkey, Sri Lanka, and China on free business class tickets that should have cost around $35,000. The docs even say that Eric Adams enjoyed these travel benefits so much that even when taking a flight from Turkish Airlines would be inconvenient, he still would do it because of the discount. And the docs say that Eric Adams wasn't only getting flight benefits, he was also getting heavily discounted hotel accommodations. Like when he stayed at the St. Regis in Istanbul, that should have cost around $7,000, but he paid $600, allegedly. So in addition to the flight benefits and the hotel benefits, the docs also allege that Eric Adams got campaign donations from these Turkish officials, which again is illegal. This specifically has to do with when Eric Adams announces that he wants to run for mayor. And a little bit of context here is that there's something called straw donations. And it's basically when person A gives money to person B to donate that money to a political campaign. But they have to do it in their own name, not in person A's name where the money actually came from. This is also not allowed. But the docs allege that that's basically what happened with Eric Adams. They give an example when the Turkish promoter texts Eric Adams' staffer saying, quote, "I think I can raise money for your campaign off the record." The staffer responded, "How will Eric Adams be able to declare this money? Because they know it's illegal." And then the promoter said, quote, "He won't declare it, or will make the donation through an American citizen in the US, a Turk. I'll give cash to him in Turkey, or I'll send it to an American. He will make a donation to you." The promoter says they plan to donate up to $100,000, and the Eric Adams staffer is at first hesitant, saying they don't think that Eric Adams is going to engage in this, but they're going to ask anyway. And apparently, Eric Adams said, "Let's do it," allegedly. So more of these straw donations happen. And then there's an added layer to this, which is New York's publicly funded matching funds program. So what you need to know here is that New York has a program to basically encourage political candidates to get donations from regular everyday people instead of trying to get donations from large businesses or large influential people who have a lot of money. So if you're a candidate and you opt into this program, for every $1 donated from a regular everyday person, this program will give you $8 more, which on a larger scale, for every $250 raised from a regular person, this program gives you $2,000. So Eric Adams is running for mayor and he opts into this program. And he uses those straw donations as the regular everyday people donations, and he gets the program to match those illegal contributions. So in total, the docs say Eric Adams' campaign received over $10 million in public funds, more than any other citywide candidate received that year, and much of it was illegal. All right, so you kind of get the picture. He's flying for free, he's staying for free, and he's getting illegal money. So you may be wondering, did Eric Adams really know he wasn't supposed to be doing that? The answer is yes. The docs include multiple text messages that indicate that Eric Adams and his staff were well aware they were not supposed to be doing this. Like this example from March 2019, when Eric Adams was texting his staff member about taking another heavily discounted trip to Turkey with the help of the Turkish airline manager. In this text exchange, the staffer tells Eric Adams, quote, "To be on the safe side, please delete all messages you send me." And then Eric Adams responded, "Always do." Or this example from June 2021, when the staffer was trying to arrange a last-minute flight with the Turkish Airlines manager, and they had this exchange. The Adams staffer, "How much does he owe? Call me and I will make the payment." The airline manager says, "It is very expensive because it is last minute. I am working on a discount." And then the staffer says, "Okay, thank you." The airline manager says, "I'm going to charge $50. The staffer says, "No." The airline manager says, "That wouldn't work, would it?" And then the staffer says, "No, dear. $50? What? Quote a proper price." The airline manager says, "How much should I charge?" And then the staffer says, "His every step is being watched right now. $1,000 or so. Let it be somewhat real." We don't want them to say he is flying for free. At the moment, the media's attention is on Eric. And then they begin discussing the hotel for Eric Adams' stay. The staffer says, he is also asking where they can go in Turkey. Do you have a recommendation? The airline manager says, 4 seasons. The staffer says, is it too expensive? And then the airline manager says, why does he care? He is not gonna pay. His name will not be on anything either. And then the staffer says, super. Ciao. Okay, so Eric Adams has received all these gifts, got all this money, defrauded New York, and got public funding. But maybe you're asking, what about the Turks? Did they in fact get him to do things that he shouldn't have? And the docs say, yes. The specific example given has to do with a 36-story building that was being built in New York. It's referred to as the Turkish House, and it was to serve as the headquarters of multiple Turkish diplomatic missions, including the Turkish consulate. So this building is being prepared to be opened, and the goal was for September 20th, 2021, the Turkish president would come to New York and do a formal opening of this building. The problem is the fire department hadn't yet inspected and approved that the building could be safely occupied by people. So the date is coming closer, and the Turks start reaching out to multiple New York officials and employees trying to get somebody to help them get this building open. But the New York fire prevention chief was not having it, and he warned that the building would probably fail any fire department inspection if they tried to get it done. So the Turks call up Eric Adams. They contact Eric Adams' staffer and say, now it's Eric's turn to support Turkey. And so Eric Adams begins putting pressure on the fire department commissioner. Meanwhile, a regular fire department employee sends the fire prevention chief an email saying, quote, "Chief, after reviewing the letter, I do not see any way we would be willing to accept it. They have some major issues like Central Station and fan shutdowns, which would be an automatic violation order. This document does not take any liability that we would be comfortable with. I believe it actually tells us that this building is not safe to occupy." But more conversations happen, more meetings happen, and eventually the letter that's needed to allow this building to open is produced, and the building opens on time. And 4 days after that, Eric Adams' staffer reached out to the airline manager trying to book another trip. At this point, Eric Adams has officially been elected as mayor of New York City. And the airline manager has now indicated that they want to be a part of Eric's transitional committee, sending a text that says, quote, "It would suit me well to be lead or senior advisor." 2 days after that first message, the airline manager texts again saying, quote, "Lead please, happy face. Otherwise, seat number 52 is empty on the way back. Yes, you're understanding that correctly. And so, as you can expect, the airline manager gets added to Eric Adams' Infrastructure, Climate, and Sustainability Transition Committee. And the corruption doesn't stop. After being elected, Eric Adams begins campaigning for re-election and basically continues replicating what he did the first time. Straw donations, travel benefits, hotel benefits, and getting the Turks to donate to his campaign. But then the FBI gets involved. On November 2nd, 2023, the FBI shows up to execute a search warrant. And while they're there, Eric Adams' staffer at one point goes to the bathroom and tries to delete the encrypted messaging applications that were being used to communicate with Eric Adams, the promoter, the Turkish official, the airline manager, everybody. And then a couple days later, the FBI have a search warrant for Eric Adams' electronic devices. But when he gives over his phone, he says it's locked. And he's recently changed the password from 4 digits to 6 digits in order to prevent any of his staff from accidentally or purposefully deleting anything. But now that he's changed it, he can't remember what it is. And so unfortunately, he can't open it. Like he told the FBI, "I'm sorry, y'all, I just forgot the passcode. Oh, well, you can't get in my phone." This is silly. So anyway, those are all the reasons that the current sitting mayor of New York City has been indicted for bribery, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, actual wire fraud, solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national, and more. He's pled not guilty, but we'll see how that goes.